You probably suck at high ticket sales, and having another script or another role play is not going to save you. I'm just playing, guys. All jokes aside, in this video, I'm gonna give you the full step-by-step guide on how to earn more than $10,000 in high ticket sales. One of the biggest misconceptions about high ticket sales is that you need to be part of some course or take some training or join somebody's event group or something of this sort. So if you don't know how to sell high ticket, you're afraid of selling high ticket, or simply you want to increase your conversions on your calls, then this video is for you. So why should you listen to me? I've done over 4,000 high ticket sales calls for my own businesses with over 400 clients worldwide throughout my various coaching programs. So I've noticed some patterns that have taken me from suck to having some of the highest cash income months. So my highest cash collected month was 157 grand in a single month, all by myself, and I've gone on to make well over 7 figures all in my own businesses. No courses, just being in the field. By the end of this video, you'll have a comprehensive idea of how to actually conduct a 45-minute inbound high-ticket sales call so that you can get in here, get on the phone, whether you're closing for somebody else's organization or you've created your own high-ticket program and you want to scale it to 100K a month. I'll teach you exactly how to do that in this video. So let's hop straight into it. We're going to be breaking down this high-ticket call into 12 different steps. But before we get into the 12 steps, there's a key factor that is so important before you even get on the call. I truly believe that 80% of the success in you closing that 7K, 10K, 25K deal, whatever it is, 80% of that success is done before you get onto the call. And it's broken down into these 3 things. Number 1, you must have built up some credibility with your prospect. The entire system that I'm going to show you right now will not work unless you have credibility with your prospect, because if not, what's going to happen, you're going to get to the end of the call, you're going to say your price, you're going to do everything, and they're going to say, I want to think about it. But truly, if you do everything correctly, you're not going to get that answer. There's not even space for them to say that. Really what that person is saying is, I don't trust you yet. I haven't consumed enough of your content. I don't know who you are. I don't trust your product or whoever the product you're selling for, and you're not going to run into that. So it's really key that you have some pre-built credibility with this customer. Number 2, your customer must be educated on your offer via VSL, a webinar, or some YouTube content, long form content. They have to understand what you're doing. If somebody's getting on your call and they don't even know what you're selling, they have to have some type of idea. It's just so key for you to even offer what you're doing, right? We don't want to get on the call with people that are blind. And guys, I've done all of these mistakes. Trust me. I've tried to close deals when people don't know me, or closing deals for another person and there's no credibility built up. It just doesn't work. Or if they don't even know what your offer is and they're just on the call just asking questions, it's just none of this system is going to work. And that leads into number 3. There has to be an application system for pre-framing and for qualification. The pre-framing, what it allows you to do in the application part, it gets the person excited to get on the call with you. You see, when I had a fully booked out calendar, I was doing 8 to 10 sales calls a day. When people would get on a call with me, they were grateful. They're saying, DeAndre, thank you so much for taking the time for this call. If somebody is saying something like that, do you think you're going to close the deal? Probably, right? And then also for qualification. So when you get on the call with somebody, you want to have a basic understanding of who they are, what they do, and you're going to be using the call not just to ask questions, but to build tension into the person, an internal tension that causes them to explode and buy your product. And this will make sense as we start getting into step number 1 right here. But those 3 things are so key that I had to include that. I'll probably make another video about that, but let's go ahead and let's hop straight into it. Let's talk about part number 1. Part number 1 is the pre-frame. This is the mindset that you want to have when you're doing a high ticket call, whether it's for your own company or you're doing it for another person. I take the doctor approach. You see, a lot of people, they're afraid to get on a sales call because they don't want to be hounded and say buy, or pressured. What I take is I take a doctor's approach. You see, when you go to a doctor's appointment, the doctor's not trying to force, prescriptions down your throat and sell you a bunch of prescriptions, right? If they are, you should probably report that. But with that being said, they're asking you questions. And this is so key. I want you to listen to this, the psychology here. When you're asking questions, what you're doing is you're creating an internal pressure. There's 2 types of pressures when it comes to sales. There's an internal pressure and there's an external pressure, okay? So we all know what external pressure is, right? Have you ever seen a door-to-door salesman or a car salesman or someone that's really pushy, right? They're saying things, they're asking questions, they're tying you down, they're doing all this stuff that's making you take action right now, and you feel that pressure coming from the outside world, right? It's an external pressure. That's one type of pressure. The second type is an internal pressure. It's basically when a doctor's asking you, have you been working out? Have you been drinking water? Have you been sexually active lately? Right? Blase, blase. They ask you all these questions and they're not there to pressure you, but you ever gone to the doctor and they ask those questions and you start to feel like, oh, I feel a little uncomfortable, especially when they ask you like, what's your sexual activity been? Or have you been to the gym? How's your health? And they're not trying to do that, but there's an internal pressure that builds up. That's the point of this call. We want to build up that internal pressure so the only way for them to relieve that is with your offer and working with your company. So that's really key, and that's why the pre-frame for this script is you're going to take a doctor's approach. We're going to ask a series of questions that gets an internal pressure built up with your customer so that it's relieved only by them solving it with your product or your service or whatever that's you're selling. Okay, part number 1 of the script is small chat. Okay, it's really key. We're not gonna sit here for 2 minutes, right? 2 minutes is the max. And you're just gonna do, hey John, how's your day? You know, where are you at? Where are you coming from? How did you find me? These kind of basic things. But don't sit here talking about the Yankees and the what happened at the Super Bowl and talking about the president. No, we're not doing any of that. It should be no more than 2 minutes. Just getting to know them and say, hey, here's a really good question. You can say, hey John, what do what was I saying? What you could say is, hey John, where are you calling from? I love to say that. If they're in Atlanta, if they're in Miami, just so I can get a better understanding of where they're at. And just have some chit chat, okay? No more than 2 minutes. Then we're going into part 2. You're gonna start with stating the agenda and taking lead. This is so key. This is what you're gonna say. All right, John, this is how this call is going to run. I'm going to ask you a series of questions to get a better understanding of your business, your application, and what you're trying to go to. Then at the end of this call, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my business, my offer, and you can ask me any questions at that point. Then after that, you have a decision if you would like to get started in any of my products or services. Sound good? You see, what I just did right there in that scenario was I took charge and I took lead. There's gonna be a lead and there's gonna be a follow in any transaction. In any sales call that you do, or any sales, it could be talking to your girlfriend. There's a lead and there's a follow. If you're saying, hey, honey, this is where we're going to go eat today, and she's going to lead, she's going to follow you because you're the lead. But if you're like, oh, babe, what, I don't know, and she's guiding you, right? There's always a alpha and a beta in any kind of conversation. And the only way that this call is going to work for you to close within 45 minutes and them to pay you 10 grand from a complete stranger is you need to be in the alpha position from the very, very beginning. Now, this is a really key part as well for you to test their energy. I have been on calls, hundreds of calls, where the person was not matching my energy. They were trying to take the lead. They were asking a bunch of questions and they were doing all these things and we did not match. And I simply just ended the call. Because think about this. Remember that doctor's appointment. They came to my office. They came to my practice. I'm here to help you solve your problems. You're not going to come in here asking me a bunch of questions. Part 3, figuring out why they're there. One of my favorite questions to ask is, hey, John, what was your biggest motivation for getting on the call with me today? I want to attack it right there at the very beginning. Why are they on the call with me today? I want to know, are they looking to buy? Are they looking for a problem? What it is? That is one of the most indirect questions that you can get from somebody. What was your biggest motivation to getting on the call with me today? And they're going to tell you. You have to sit there and listen. Remember, you're a doctor. You're not there to throw something down their throat. You want to hear from them. They're going to tell you what that problem is. Hey, DeAndre, so I'm on this call because I have a coaching business, I have a coaching offer, but I'm stuck at $10,000 a month and I want to scale to 100 grand a month and I'm not really sure on what to do. I've tried some ads before and I'm kind of looking for a way. See, that's good for me, right? I understand they're going to be talking, and if you're watching this call, you probably understand sales to a basic degree, that the person that's talking the most is the one that loses, and the person that's asking the question is always the one that's in control. So they're gonna tell you why they're on the call, and write that down. You gotta have a piece of paper next to you and writing these things down, and that's a key factor that you're gonna use later on. It's your listening skills that's gonna help you close later on. So get out a piece of paper, write down. That is one of the most important reasons. And if John or whoever your prospect is not clear, or you're not clear on why they're on the call, restate it again. This is okay, right? Remember, you're a doctor. If you didn't get a clear answer, restate it. Hey, John, I wasn't really fully clear. You're babbling about the Mets and you're babbling about your job and your boss. I wasn't really clear. What was your biggest motivation for getting on the call again? Right? Restate it and get a very clear and concise answer, because that's going to be your lead for guiding the rest of this sales call and closing later on. All right? Now, Let's move on to the next one here, which is part number 4, understanding the current situation. So what we're going to be doing in this section is fully understanding where they're at. Because in any sales conversation, there's 3 parts. Part A is their current situation. Part B is their desired situation. And part C is you are the connector between where they're at and where they want to go. And so your offer and what you're doing, and I'll put a little graphic right here so you can see it. Your goal is to get somebody from A to B. You're the bridge, so that you're the bridge to get them from that situation. So what we're going to be focusing on right here is truly understanding their situation. And you can have a script, and I have a script that I give to all my clients. But really, what you're doing is just asking them about their business. Let's just say I'm on a call with one of my customers. I'm going to be asking them, so tell me about your business. What do you sell? What's your price point? How long have you been selling it? Where you're getting your clients from? What's your current revenue? Right? I'm just going to be asking to get a really good understanding of where they're at. They've already provided you permission to go ahead and ask them, but you need to actually get in there. And if you don't get an answer that you really want, dive deeper into it. It's called chunking down. I've heard that in the industry, called chunking down. But you really want to get down to a deeper level of where they're at so you can have a good visual. This is good on the sales call for 2 reasons. Number one, the customer understands where they're at and they start to build up that internal pressure. But it's also good for you, because if you don't know where they're at and you start moving on to the next part, and you're trying to build their future, there's not enough pain. We have to separate the two. So in this first part, when we understand, we're starting to gather information, you want to really get deep into where they're at, right? So that leads us to the next part, part 5, which is gathering data and causing pain. All right, so this is a key part that a lot of people get confused with, especially when I'm training new people that are creating high-ticket offers. You're not there on the call to solve their pain. You are on that call to cause their pain and help them realize it. And the way you're going to do it, like I said, is not by pressuring them at the end to buy, but you're going to do it by asking questions that cause internal pressure. And the way you're going to do this is say, for example, John, how long have you been struggling in your business? 6 months. Okay, John, you've been struggling for 6 months. What things have you tried? What things have you tried to change your life? And how's that gone for you? Oh, it's failed in your face. Great. And how's that made you feel? How does this, right? You're asking questions, right, to really separate where they're at, because when we move on to the latter part, we're going to want to know where they're at, where they want to go. But the only way we need to do is to separate that. There needs to be a feeling of pain, and you're going to be asking deeper questions, chunking down to understand where they're at. If you're not causing pain on that call, by asking a series of questions, and you don't even need a script, guys. It's just this idea. What I'm covering, nobody trained me on these things. I went from 0 to 100K weeks, 100K months, all by myself, by simply understanding these things, and I filled out my question. Whatever I was selling, whether it was my ticket with my program with Bob Proctor, my high ticket hero program, or somebody else's, I simply understand these 12 parts, filled in the questions, and I got really good at execution. It's not about the script, it's about the execution of this part. So making sure that you're asking questions to cause pain, which then lets us move into part number 6 here, which is figuring out what they want. So now that we've caused pain, we understand where they're at, we understand the pains that they're having, we're gonna move on to the next part here, which is where they wanna go. We wanna ask, John, so what does your income goal look like in 12 months from now? What does your life look like? What does your time freedom look like? What does your business look like? What does your team look like? What does your personal life look like? We're gonna ask a series of questions to start to build out this dream life. And here's what you're gonna notice on the calls like this. A lot of people haven't done that. They have an idea. They might have an income goal, like let's just say they're 10K a month, they wanna get to 100K a month. But here's your key as a really good salesperson. You need to pump up that dream life. You need to help them build it. You say, okay, John, what would your life look at 100 grand a month? Well, I would probably get a new car. I'd probably retire my parents. Okay, John, what kind of car would you drive? Oh, I like that new Tesla. Okay, Tesla, what kind of color Tesla would you get? Oh, I'd get a white Tesla with a white interior. Okay, you mentioned retiring your parents. Like, what would you do with that? Would you just send them money? Would you buy them a home? Oh man, I haven't even thought about that. Well, they've always talked about going to Mexico. Maybe I buy him a house in Mexico, right? So you see how you get his imagination going? This is really key. Get his imagination going, because what we're doing now is separating where he's at and the life that he wants. We want to get him daydreaming about this life, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're a sculptor helping this person build their dream life, and you're going to be able to change that person's life with your offer. But you want to get very clear on what they want, and you're helping them do that. But while you're doing that, you're also creating internal conflict and pressure that they are not where they're at. Hopefully, this is making sense right now. By the way, drop a like, hit the like button if you're liking this kind of content right here, right? I'm going to be creating more sales type content like this. Next one is part 7, releasing control and self-admission. This is so key. What this means is that you have to ask a series of questions that lets the person know that they cannot get to the point where they want by themselves. And here's what you'll ask. So, John, what's been the biggest challenge that stopped you from doing it on your own? Does that make sense? I'll say it one more time. John, what's been the biggest thing stopping you from achieving that on your own? And here's what you want to hear. You want to hear something like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't have the steps. I'm looking for a step-by-step system, right? They're looking for a step-by-step proven system. Next thing. Oh, I'm looking for guidance. I'm not really sure what to do. Like, I've tried things by myself, but I'm looking for guidance. That's number 2. They're looking for guidance. Somebody that's done it before. Or number 3, I don't know, like, I just want to go do it faster. I see that you went 0 to 100K a month in 60 days, and you've been studying high ticket sales, and I just want to go do it faster. I know I could do it by myself. It'll take me about 9 months to hire people and build systems, but I want to do it in 30 days or 90 days, right? Number 3, they want to compress time frames. We talk about this, especially when you're selling business opportunity. What you're doing is you're helping people make money. Sorry about that. You're helping people make money, save money, or compress time frames. And if you can wrap all 3 at the same time, you can sell a very expensive high ticket program, right? So compressing time frames, you need to hear that. You need to hear from them that they can't do it by themselves. And if you don't hear that part, this is another crucial point that you will end the call. If they say something like, oh, nothing's stopping me. Okay, perfect, John. So why are you on this call then? Confront that objection right there, because if you don't, you're not going to close in the next couple minutes when we get to the offer. Confront that. Well, all right, John. So if you don't mind me asking, John, why are you on this call then if you can do it by yourself? I actually, and then you see, you're going to confront that and you're going to attack it. And if they have this ego where they think they can do it by themselves, that's fine. Get off the call with them and say, you know what, John? I don't think you'll be a good fit because it sounds like you have your plan. You know exactly what to do. But I don't think you'd be a good fit for this offer. And you reject them from the call and you get off the call. That will drive him more crazy than you trying to like fight your way through the call. But most of the time, a person will say, you know what? I'm looking for a proven system. I'm looking for something of this sort, right? And that's what you want to hear. One of those 3 right there, right? Time constraint. They want a step-by-step system, or they want somebody that's proven, that's done it before to help them. Those are the 3 things, all right? So we got to release control, saying that I need your help. You want John saying, I need your help. And this is key. So there's 2 key factors that you should have already noted by this point in the sales call. Number 1, what was their biggest motivation for being on the call? Number 2 is what's stopping them from achieving that on your own. So you're going to circle these 2 on your note paper, because these are going to be key factors that we're going to be using later in order to close, all right? So let's move on to the next one here, which is part number 8, gaining commitment and wrapping in emotion. So here's what you need to do, is you need to gain commitment from this individual. The way we're going to be doing this is say, John, if we can show you a proven path that can change your life and get you from, and you're going to say this verbally, repeat to them, this is key in sales, repeat the verbiage and the language that they had. So if John's talking about he doesn't have time freedom, he's stuck in a rut. So John, if we can get you from being stuck in a rut and not having time freedom to retiring your parents and giving you that dream life that you want for you and your family, would you be open to a solution, right? So it's really key whenever you're talking to this prospect, use their words. But what we're doing in the situation is we're gaining commitment. If I was to present an opportunity, John, for you to change your life, will you take it? Will you want to look into it? And you want to get that verbal yes. What that's doing is you're gaining commitment from them that they are open and willing to look for a solution. This is a really key point. Leading into the next point here, which is part 9, acknowledge the gap and permission to share. So here's what you're going to do. you're gonna ask permission to share. Because at this point in the call, it's probably been about 20, 25 minutes asking these questions, right? There's gonna be a shift. There's gonna be a pause. About 70 to 80% of the entire call, you were asking questions and they were talking. But you see, what a lot of people do is they start, oh my God, I found a person that's ready for my offer, and they shove it down their throat. That's not what we're gonna do in this situation. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna say, hey, John, I think I might have a solution for you. Is it okay for me to share that with you? You're going to ask permission to share your offer. You're gonna get a verbal yes that you can transition from you asking questions to you asking, telling about your offer. And you see what that does is that shifts the energy now. So you're gonna say, hey, John, I believe I have a good solution for you. And I think you're a good fit for what we have to offer. Is it okay if I share with you the offer that I have? Get the yes, then we move on to part 10 here, which is state what you're an expert at. This is a part that you do want to role play. This is a part that you want to spend some time thinking about. I remember when I was selling high ticket with Bob Proctor, I narrowed in my offer because I was doing hundreds of, guys, I was doing like 8 to 10 calls a day for like 4 months straight. Like it was a lot of work, but I learned so much about high ticket sales just being in the field at that point. But I noticed this pattern of people. So when I stated my offer, what I was an expert at, here's the key. When you state what you're an expert at, you want your prospect to say, oh my gosh, this is made for me. This was made for me. And the only way you're gonna do this is by 2 things. Number 1, doing reps. Getting in there and talking to your dream customer. Number 2, listening to them, seeing the patterns that are coming along, and then making improvements to this expert script. Okay, so here's what you're gonna say. Here's what I would say in my situation. I'm an expertise at blase, blase, blase. I help blank, so I help niche get a specific result in X amount of time frame by using unique angle. So this is what it would look like for my situation with Bob, is I help network marketers who work part-time quit their job by reprogramming their mind using Bob Proctor's high ticket program in 6 months or less. And the way that I do this is by offering Bob Proctor's 6-month program where I guide you through a group session and blase, 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 okay? So what you're gonna do in this situation is you're gonna use your I am statement, which is I help blank, so I help your niche, whoever you're working with. By this time, you probably have it dialed in. If you don't, watch one of my other videos where I teach you how to dial in, right? You help blank. Who's the person that you work with? Here's even a ninja tip, is state what they call themselves as a person that you help. So if John calls himself a high ticket creator or a course creator, say, I help course creators. Repeat back to him whatever he called himself. So I help blank, right, niche, get X result. So what is that end result that you're selling? People do not want to buy a program. This is really key. If you're coaching yourself right now, or sorry, selling your own coaching program, people do not want to buy a course. People do not want to buy a service. What they want to buy is an end result. You are selling an end result here. So you want to state that. For example, with Bob Proctor, people didn't want to buy a mindset program. What they wanted to buy was a $10,000 per month income with network marketing. That's what they wanted. So I help blank get X result and X time frame by a unique angle. A unique angle is what's your methodology? What's the fun way that you're gonna help them achieve that result? In my case with Bob, it was reprogramming their subconscious mind. What I do now is I teach the social system, which is social funnel system, which is using Instagram and YouTube in tandem together, right? So that's the system that I use to take people from coaching and done-for-you services and agencies to 100K a month in scaling, is by that, right? Is my unique angle that I use to get that person result. So remember that graphic we had where we had part A and part B, and then we had the bridge? That unique angle is your bridge. It's the way that you're helping them go from where they at and where they want to go. So part B, the B here in this example is whatever they stated. You're going to state it back to them with the unique angle that you offer, your methodology in your offer. Hopefully that makes sense at this point, okay? And then we're going to go to part 11. And here's what's gonna happen here. The uses of pause are really key. Now, I'm not gonna go too much into detail about the psychology and like every little pause that we use at the end here, but using pauses is one of the biggest key factors that will allow you to be successful and build internal pressure with your prospect. So what will happen after you state what you're an expert at? You're gonna be quiet. So there's going to be a shift here. I want you to feel this now. All right? I want you to feel this energy. There's a shift that happens at this point in the call. You're not going to be forcing words, unnecessary words into the conversation. What you're going to do is you're going to answer the question, or you're going to present what you do, and you're going to be quiet and you're going to pause. And a lot of the times the prospect will be like, hello, are you there? Or they're going to say, is that it? And what you want to hear from the prospect is they're going to start to pick out of your offer what they want. This is so key to sales, guys. Here's what a lot of people do that gets them effed up, is that they start saying, oh, here's my offer. You're going to get a 6-week program, and week 1 is this, and week 2 is this, and week 3, and you're going to get this software and this and this and this, and you start overwhelming your prospect. And what happens is you start creating objections for yourself or for the prospect, or maybe they didn't want that part, or maybe like they didn't even think about like the time commitment, and now you brought that in as another objection. We don't throw up on them telling them our offer. We state what we're an expert at, and then we're quiet. And then here's what's going to happen. There's going to be a shift where now the prospect's going to ask you questions and try to draw things out of you. They're going to say, well, okay, so I like that. That sounds just like me, but can you tell me a little bit more about the sales part? Because I feel like I have an issue with the sales part. Or they'll say, you know what, tell me more about the social system funnel. Like, how does my YouTube channel, like, do I need a YouTube channel? Like, how does the Instagram ads work? Or like, you know, tell me about this, right? They're gonna draw the problems out, and what they're gonna do is this. Check this out, guys. This is key. They're gonna build their own custom offer just for them. You hear that? By them drawing out the questions, they're gonna build out their custom offer for them. Here's the key. You answer the question and then you shut up. You answer the question truthfully and then you shut up. And what's going to happen is not anything that's important to them, they're going to ask it. And anything that's not, they're not going to ask it. And those are just bonuses that you put on later. When the prospect finds out that you help him run ads on Instagram, he didn't care about it on the sales call, but guess what? When you show it in your program, he's happy. But if you present that to him, he starts to think, oh man, I don't know how to run ads, or oh my gosh, what if I don't have an ad budget? And now you created a problem for yourself when it comes to closing. So by you being quiet and only answering the specific problem that prospect is asking you, you are building a custom offer for your prospect. Hopefully that makes sense there. Now we move on to the next part, is part 11, which is stating your offer and how it works. So at this point now, all you're doing is answering a question. There's been a shift now. 80% of the call, you are asking questions of the prospect. Now in this latter 20%, he's asking you questions. He's asking, well, how does it work? And what goes here and what goes there? And allow him to build that offer. And then we move into part 11. There's gonna be a point, guys, where the prospect will ask you, all right, what's the price? No part between point pre-frame, so part 1 to part 11, at no point do you ever say the price, because the price is relative to the value that the prospect has built up in their head already. You see, the prospect will ask the price when the prospect is ready to ask the price. If you say the price, the prospect's not ready for that price. They haven't built up the offer in their head. They haven't gathered the information to see if it's a right fit for them. There will be a point, if you answer every question and you shut up after the call, he will ask you, all right, DeAndre, so tell me, what's the damage or what's the price? That is your green light to ask to say the price. It is at this point that you're okay to say the price. And here's how you're going to say the price. This is really key. It sounds weird, and I remember, like, especially ClickFunnels and that whole culture. There was a community of like offer stacking, right, where people would say a price and then say a higher price and bring a lower price. But let me tell you guys, it works. Okay, here's what you're gonna say. You're gonna say something called incentive-based pricing. So part 12 here is you're gonna state your offer with incentive-based pricing. What is incentive-based pricing? Incentive-based pricing is you're gonna give them a discount, or you're gonna take off a price, or you're gonna add bonuses. You can do one or the other or both, whatever you want. So adding bonuses or taking price down if they take action today. So here's what you're gonna say. Okay, John, so we do something called incentive-based pricing, where if you make a decision today on the call, what I'm gonna do for you is I'm gonna actually knock off $3,000. So or $5,000. So instead of the program being $15,000, today it's gonna be $10,000. So let me repeat that one more time. You're gonna say something like, okay, John, we do something called incentive-based pricing, which means that I've seen a pattern of my customers that the people that take action on the first call are the ones that get the best results. So with that being said, I'll take off $5,000 off the normal price, and today you can get it for just X amount. So you're gonna take off, say, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, up to $5,000. Make it believable, right? So let's just say your program is 10 grand, and you're gonna take off 3 grand if they make a decision today for 7 grand. Okay, so you'll say, hey, if you take action today, I'll take off 3 grand, and it'll be a final price of $7,000. Then you're quiet. You're absolutely quiet. This point could be 2 minutes long, a minute long, 30 seconds. The first person that talks loses. Because what a lot of people, especially inexperienced salespeople, what they start to do is they start to feel uncomfortable. Especially if there's a pause. They're like, oh my gosh, do I have to say this? I just said the price. No, I have to start adding things and adding things. No, you don't want to do that. What's happening right now is your prospect is bundling up your entire offer. They're looking at their current situation. They're looking at where they want to go. They're looking at the trust they built up with your brand. They're looking up the price that they have. They're looking at their bank accounts. So now your prospect has a couple options here. Number one is they're gonna try to deflect the pressure that's built up. They're gonna start going off on a different tangent. What you can do now is you can answer the question, but respectfully always try to guide them back to the offer, right? The second thing that they're gonna do is they're gonna say, I'm ready to buy. What's the next step? How does it work? How do you take payment? These kind of things, right? Or what they're gonna do is you say, you know what, it's not a good fit for me. Or, by asking, coming up with objections and stuff. So this is at your point now to be able to shift through what's an objection, what's a deflection, and what is actually buying signals. All right. So obviously, if they say, I'm ready, what's the next step? And they're ready to buy, you just say, Visa or MasterCard, and you collect payment right there on the spot. You don't send some invoice and then they do it another time. Guys, out of like all the sales calls that the people said, oh, let me think about it and I'll pay it later, they never did. Maybe like 2%. All right, they don't do that. You got to collect the payment right there on the spot. So you send them the invoice, you send them the website, you send them the checkout page, and they purchase right there on the spot. If you find somebody that's deflecting, what's happening is they're not able to sit in that pressure. So it's your role, your responsibility as a salesperson to cut that. To say, you know what, John, let's come back over here to the offer. So they might be saying, oh, well, I don't know about this, but any objections that they come up with, you actually want to guide them back to the solution is your offer, okay? And if they're not a good fit, they're not a good fit. But here's what you never do on a sales call. You never get off the call with, I want to think about it, or where you feel as a salesperson that you don't know where they're at. You don't do gray areas. They either say yes or they say no. And you can even say that. I will say that to a prospect. Hey, John, you know what? It's okay to say yes, and it's okay to say no. Whichever one is the best fit for you, I'm okay with that. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to be in the middle. We're not going to be in a gray area, okay? And that's such a key point for them to make a decision now. They know they have a problem. If you've done this correctly, they've had pain built up. If you've done it correctly, they have a vision. If you've done this correctly, they know that your offer is the bridge between the two. And now they have to make a decision. And now your goal, if everything, like we talked about, those 3 parts, the credibility that's built up, they understand your offer, and they've been qualified, and there's a pre-frame, you get to this point, guys, it's easy. I was closing at my peak. It took me a time to build this up, but it was a point where I was closing 30%, 40% of my sales call. If somebody got on the phone and they had money, they were gonna pay me. I was gonna collect the down payment, even if it was $500, $1,000. But that's when I first started, but then it got to the point where I was closing 10K deals left and right, one-on-one deals for 25K, and I was able to scale to 6 figures a month and on to 7 figures. All right, so at this point, you've closed your deal and you're ready to go. So finally, if you're a coach, consultant, course creator, or agency owner, and you want help on how to actually scale your coaching program to the 6-figure month and actually reframe it to the point where you have more time and making more profit, then go ahead and click the link in my description or look at the pinned comment where you can actually send me a direct message and we can talk. We can build a free game plan and we can see if it's a good fit for me to help you scale your coaching program to the 6-figure level. We'll be covering sales calls like this, whether you need help with your own sales call or how to hire people and train them on how to do a sales call such as this to scale your coaching program to the next level. Those are the kind of things that we can discuss by you simply sending me a direct message on Instagram. So without further ado, guys, hopefully there was a lot of value. I know it was a long video, and I'm going to be actually creating another video right now where I'm gonna actually break down an actual sales call that I did closing a high ticket program. So make sure you subscribe below and do that. Send me a DM, subscribe below. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.